So there's often more than one way to do the exact same thing. And that's true with this next pseudo class. And that pseudo class is the focus pseudo class, because the focus pseudo class, which you can see right here, selector pseudo class focus, and then also the active pseudo class, you can sometimes use one or the other interchangeably, and it doesn't matter. I think if it's a link, I would definitely be using active, but if it's like a form field property, I'd be using focus. And so for what focus is did this element receive the user's focus? And so like form inputs or form buttons, those are things that can receive focus. And when that element has received focus, then this styling can be applied to that element, right? That's how the pseudo class works. So let's take a look at it. We're here in 019 CSS selector, 05 pseudo class, 05 focus, and we've got 3 files to look at. So the first one is this link right here. So before we were just seeing some links and playing with those. And here's the CSS. And I'm going to split vertically. And I could have just put, on here a active. So when this anchor tag is active, meaning, hey, it's actively clicked. It's actively being clicked. It's clicked right now. I could have just done active. And I'll show you that. And instead, I'm going to do focus. And 2 ways to do the same thing anyhow. But traditionally, focus is for forms. And, active is for links. That's how you'd normally think about it. I'm just going to make this huge. Font size 200 pixels. There we go. And refresh this. Because it's not focused. Let me do this. Cool. There we go. Walk. And now when I click on it, it's got focus. Walk. Goes red. I could have also have done that. Let's just change this to some other color. Green. I could have done it with active. And it's only one, so I don't have to worry about order. But if there's multiple in here, I'd love laughter, love ha, LVHA, link, visited, hover, active, right? But there's only one, so it's just active. Refresh this page, and green. So you can see that, and I'll change this back to focus in red. You can see focus very much like active. So many ways to do the exact same thing. And here is another form. We are going to learn about forms and inputs and labels and all this later. You can kind of take a gander at it right now if you want. But the one thing I will say, which people who have been building websites forever still aren't clear on, a lot of them, is that, here we have an ID and here we have a name. And often you'll see these called the exact same thing. Right? So it's like ID, F name, F name. And it's just like, that's so confusing. What's with the redundancy? Why do you have it? Well, the ID is for like targeting this element with an ID, right? From CSS, because we have an element selector, we have a class selector, we have an ID selector. So we could target that over in our CSS by doing £f name. And we've just targeted this entire thing. ID is also, it's the way you identify, right? It's the way you identify this one specific element on the page. And it's also something you'll target with JavaScript. You'll target the ID. Name is the name of the variable which your browser is going to send to the server. And so when the server receives it, whatever the user has input in this input field, it will be identified with this variable name. So there'll be a variable first-name, and the value that the user input will be into this input will be what first.name is set equal to. All right, so that's the difference between those two things. I just want to say that because so many people don't know that. All right, so here we have a form field, and then here is our CSS. We have a couple of form fields, and we have a form. And when we preview this, let me just put that so we can see it all. Ba-bow, ba-bow, ba-bow. When we preview this, input will have a border of 2 pixels solid green when it has focus. So we're learning about the focus pseudo class. That's the takeaway from this video, the focus pseudo class, and how it's a whole lot like the active one. But focus is really used most of the time, rambling, on forms and on inputs and on so there we go, inputs. That button's an input there too. So here's the form, and when something gets focus, boom, it has focus, and I could use my tab key to kind of click between things that have focus, right? So when it has focus, it applied that formatting with this pseudo class. Pretty cool. All right, and then the last one is just one more form, and it's a form that's a little bit more stylized. This is the exact same code from before in active when I was showing you this form right here. And I didn't point out this note in the last video, but I'm going to point it out now. Don't sweat it. If you don't understand this code, you shouldn't understand this code at this point unless you've already been working for a long time in web development. But you're going to know all of this code by the end of this course, and you'll be able to write code like this and build pages like this by the end of this course. And anyhow, this code up above here, it's got Flexbox and all kinds of stuff. It's a little bit more advanced, but we're getting there. And I just want to show here, instead of hover active, which is what we had last time, I'm doing hover focus again. And it's the example I presented in the last one. And it's just a little bit of inspiration of what we're working towards. And there's a slightly different way to do this form, so I did this one a little bit different than the previous one. Anyhow, just some food for thought and stuff to browse as you're learning, and I'm going to teach you all this. But here, right, as I press, and it has focus, right, just like active, it's kind of, taking the place of active. So that's the last thing I wanted to say about focus. So in this video, we have learned about the pseudo class focus. In the next video, we're going to learn about the pseudo classes known as nth children, nth child, baby. I'm going to teach you all about pseudo class nth child in the next video.